Can I start by thanking Anna for her kind introduction? I spoke last night to a meeting of around 1,000 people in the Great Hall of the Central Mosque in Glasgow. It was an extraordinary meeting encompassing people from across a range of communities of Scotland. And I think got a reasonable reception, and it seemed to be virtually unanimous for a yes vote, but it was nothing to the reception that Anna got speaking as the General Secretary of Muslim Friends of Labour. And her speech last night, her presence today, the presence of Patrick, the presence of Nicola, and the presence of Karen Kenyon-Wright illustrate the broad-based nature of the Yes campaign. But it's a particular pleasure to have this opportunity to be here this morning, to speak to an international media audience representing countries from all around the world, just as the meeting that Anna and I addressed last night represented countries from all around the world, people who had chosen to live and work in our community of Scotland. Since 1945, 142 countries have chosen independence. And a remarkable thing about each and every one of these countries is not one, has ever asked to give up their independence. And therefore it's an enormous pleasure to see journalists who instinctively understand the logic of independence. Scotland is on the cusp of making history. The eyes of the world are upon Scotland. And what the world is seeing is an articulate, peaceful, energised debate. Scotland will vote yes next Thursday. And they'll vote yes because last-minute cobbled-up promises from the No campaign, which unravel at the slightest scrutiny, will not fool anyone in this country, and neither will the blatant bullying and intimidation of the Westminster government. The No campaign is in terminal decline. In contrast, a yes vote is the opportunity of a lifetime, an opportunity to build a fairer, more prosperous country. And today marks a special moment in Scotland's Home Rule journey. It is exactly the 17th anniversary of Scotland voting yes to reconvening, to the restoration of a Scottish Parliament in 1997. You've just heard from Karen Kenyon-Wright, a man known across the political spectrum as the architect of devolution, hugely respected across the political spectrum. He was central in securing and reclaiming that measure of Home Rule for Scotland in 1997. We called him in that campaign the Grand Cannon. And I noticed today he's lost none of the wit and the rigour with which he pursued the case for a Parliament for so long. But he, like so many others of our fellow citizens, is now convinced of the urgent need for Scotland to complete that Home Rule journey to independence by voting yes. In the last 17 years, Scotland has become a better country. And these are the actions not of one political party, but the actions of an entire Scottish Parliament, removing tuition fees, abolishing care costs for the elderly, making prescriptions free, creating jobs and opportunities, and defending our public National Health Service. In creating what is becoming a celebration of democracy, it is Scotland's people, Scotland's communities, not the politicians, who are reinvigorating and transforming the entire political process. The participation, the enthusiasm, the meetings, the discussions, the debate has been truly remarkable. It is a process of national empowerment. As a country, we are rediscovering self-confidence. As a nation, we are finding our voice. Our message to the people of Scotland is this: for the first time in Scottish history, on 18th September, we, the people, hold our destiny in our own hands. We are not going to wake up on the 19th having given it away again. We shall wake up instead knowing we did the right thing for this, but above all for future generations. We're going to wake up to a lifetime feeling confident in ourselves and in our country. We have absolutely no intention of allowing the Westminster elite to tell us we are not capable of making a success of this wealthy country. A country, remember, with a higher gross domestic product than the UK, France or Japan per head, with the strongest foundations on which to build a better and fairer society. More top universities per head than any other country in the world. A world-class food and drink industry, advanced manufacturing, creative industries, extraordinary energy reserves and extraordinary energy potential. That is a wonderful starting point for any new nation. But what matters most to this Yes campaign is what we do with that wealth, how we share it, how we invest it, how we use it. The issue as we enter the last week of this campaign is not therefore whether Scotland is wealthy enough to be an independent country. The great issue is why so many of our fellow citizens don't benefit from that wealth. And the most fundamental point of all is this one. A yes vote next Thursday is not the end of something. It's the beginning of something really special. We will succeed, not because we have a wealth of natural resources, important though they are. We will succeed as we maintain and build on the energy, the participation and the involvement of the people that we have seen in this campaign. I want to see us use that energy, that confidence we feel to carry Scotland to greater heights in the months and years beyond September the 18th. The sense of purpose coursing through Scottish life is unmistakable. For the first time ever, Scots now believe that this can happen, indeed this will happen. And with that sense of belief, of confidence, of opportunity, we can get to work making our lives and those of our families immeasurably better. We shall not go back to accepting a future where up to 100,000 additional children will be put into poverty. We're not going to go back to a country where people feel their views don't count and they get governments in election after election that Scotland did not vote for. Where we spend billions on trident missiles but say we don't have enough to expand childcare. Where the massive potential of so many Scots is wasted. Where decisions are made remotely and against the will of the Scottish people. We are not going back to all of that. For many people, the answer to the question of whether Scotland should be an independent country has often been yes, but. Now that we have this opportunity of a lifetime to put Scotland's future into Scotland's hands, more and more people are no longer saying that. They are saying instead, yes, because. Yes, because we'll have the job-creating powers we need to build that more prosperous country. Yes, because we'll have control over our budget to protect our public national health service. Yes, because we absolutely must use all of the talents of the people of Scotland. A yes vote is about building something better. It is the growing acceptance across virtually every community in Scotland that no one, absolutely no one, is better placed to govern Scotland than the people here ourselves. No one cares more about this country. And no one will do a better job of governing this country than the people of Scotland. No one understands the aspirations of the people more. And once that central proposition is accepted, a yes vote next week becomes an irresistible movement. Not because we'll inherit the day after independence a land of milk and honey, not because we see that Scotland should have a special or privileged position in the world, and certainly not because we believe we are better than any other nation, but because we believe we are no worse than any other nation. Of course there shall be big challenges. What we win on the 18th is a chance to do better, to take control, to make our own mistakes, and then to mould our own successes. The reason that Scotland will vote yes is because the majority of Scots look around and know that we can do better. Scots will gain a guarantee that the UKIP Tory referendum, which threatens to take us out of the European Union, the greatest single risk to Scottish jobs and prosperity, will be off the table. I believe, unlike Mr Cameron, in the rights of citizens to enjoy the protection of things like the European Convention on Human Rights. This is guaranteed in an independent Scotland. I believe in the rights and protections given to workers across Scotland by the European Union, in the need for collective action on climate change, and the solidarity of nations standing together in the face of conflict. I believe, unlike Mr Cameron, in positive engagement with the rest of Europe, rather than public schoolboy politics and island isolationism. I don't have to pretend to speak the language of the people. This Yes campaign embraces the people in campaigning. With independence, the European Union will gain a positive force for international cooperation, because this referendum is simply the start of a new chapter for Scotland in the world. I referred earlier to the contrast between the campaigns, that is to say, the contrast between the empowerment message of the Yes campaign and what I described as the blatant intimidation of the Westminster parties. We had a spectacular example of that yesterday evening. The Royal Bank of Scotland, in a notice to markets at 7 o'clock this morning, revealed they had a contingency for potentially re-domiciling their head office, that is the registered office of their brass plaque. This information was obviously market sensitive, but it was briefed by a Treasury source to the BBC yesterday evening. A totally extraordinary development in the campaign. There can be no greater difficulty for anyone in government to be caught briefing market-sensitive information, and I'll be writing to the Cabinet Secretary later today to ask for an immediate investigation as to who in the Treasury was briefing such information. What is interesting, I think, in terms of this story is two things. Firstly, of course, the letter to staff of the Royal Bank of Scotland this morning from Ross McEwen. And let me read the key paragraph. It is my view as Chief Executive that any decision to move our registered headquarters would have no impact on everyday banking services used by our customers in Scotland and the rest of the British Isles. This is a technical procedure regarding the location of our registered head office. Based on our current strategy and business plan, it is not our intention to move operations or jobs. Of course, the Lloyd Bank, who made a similar announcement yesterday, by definition, cannot move their headquarters to London, given that their headquarters is in 25 Gresham Street in London, where it's been for many years. It is interesting, is it not, that we had the contrast of Mr Cameron yesterday, telling us how much he respected and admired Scotland and the Scottish people, while behind the scenes both the Treasury and indeed his own business advisor were busy trying to galvanise leading business people to say anything they could negative about Scotland. But to actually have fired this gun, have fired this Mons Meg, the great gun in Edinburgh Castle at the Scottish people, and then to find it so spectacularly blowing up in their face as a result of the investigation which will now have to take place into the leaking of the information, and of course the assertion that this has no effect on operations or job, is yet another spectacular blunder from the No campaign. The contrast between the two campaigns is evident. We look forward to this referendum as the start of a new chapter for Scotland. A nation of 5 million people does not need the largest, most expensive arsenal of nuclear weapons in Europe in order to be influential. But it does need a government more committed to our global partners, the United Nations, to fighting poverty and disease abroad with the same passion that we fight it in Scotland. Scotland is ready to join the family of nations on equal terms. Ladies and gentlemen, as the Yes campaign has demonstrated, this is not about the SNP, the Tory party, me, David Cameron, or any individual. It's about the central proposition of who we trust most to govern this country. The last 2 weeks have been the most momentous in Scottish democratic history. The Yes vote has multiplied. Momentum on the ground has crystallised into commitment from undecided voters and many, many voters who previously intended to vote no. They have realised the historic opportunity before us, and all has changed. The story of the last weeks, as Anna explained earlier, has been of many tens of thousands of traditional Labour voters realising that Yes vote is their best prospect of building a socially just Scotland. of families deciding that the future of their children is best secured in an independent country where we can make our own choices on childcare and jobs and welfare, of pensioners recognising that their pensions are totally secure with independence and know that they are free, therefore, to give to their grandchildren the greatest legacy of all, opportunity. And when the No campaign was asked for a vision of the future of Scotland, what did they offer? Little more than a rehash of policies announced months ago, ignored by the voters then, and now as meaningless and incoherent. No guarantee of any specific job-creating powers to be devolved, simply a timetable to have a consultation. The truth is, of course, as Canon Kenyon Wright knows well, that we have been here before. In 1979, Scotland was told both no and more powers would come to Scotland in a real parliament. Instead, we got Margaret Thatcher, deindustrialisation, and the poll tax, the most unfair taxation system of all time. Scotland has no intention of being conned again. This time we know that only a yes vote delivers real opportunity. I'm convinced, as First Minister, that the vision of a positive future for Scotland, which has been taken to all parts of our country and energised conversation by the most impressive grassroots campaign in Scottish political history, is winning the hearts and minds of the people. We have approached this campaign with humility and by respecting the sovereign will of the people of Scotland. The will of the people 1 week from today, I believe, will be to restore this rich, ancient nation the opportunity once again to take its responsible place in the community of nations. This is it, the moment to believe, the moment to win.